St. Augustine's University Lyceum Leadership Speaker Series, presented by the Office of the President.
Thank you so much for having me back. This means so much to me. I love my illustrious university. You don't know how it really makes me feel. So I'll go ahead and get started. So again, thank you to Dr. Costin, faculty, staff, guests, and students. Good morning and happy Women's History Month. I was told that as part of Women's History Month, there will be a Women's Empowerment Conference that will be held this Saturday in the MLK Ballroom. I would highly suggest that you all attend, being that it is Women's History Month. So when I was asked to speak, I was ecstatic, as I always enjoy paying it forward to the students at the OG. I always love it. However, I gave myself a mini anxiety attack when I realized I was speaking to the entire student body. People who know me from undergrad know I love to talk. I am an introvert by all means, but speaking in front of a large crowd, such as this, it slightly frightened me. The thoughts that ran through my mind were, what should I say? Or what should I wear? Because it's warm down here. I live in Minnesota, it's 45 degrees right now. So I didn't even know what to wear, I didn't even know what to pack. I had to make sure I had my lotion, because I didn't want to be ashy today, because in Minnesota you don't have to worry about that, not until the summer. But more importantly, what can you as students learn from an old alum or old head, as I'm referred to by my neos from the Gamma Rho chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, that you haven't heard from all the other alum that have come before me. So, I could bore you with all my pearls of wisdom, but quite frankly, I feel wildly unqualified to be giving advice. There is no wisdom here, but I will share with you, from one falcon to another, a few things that could be useful to you. So here we go. Usually when you attend events such as this, they usually have a keynote, they tell you to follow your dreams, make an impact on the world, and dream until you can't stop dreaming. It's nice to dream, but what are you doing in order to bring that dream into fruition? While there are a lot of dreamers, the people who are trailblazers or on their path to greatness are being busy. And that's why I'm here to talk to you about today, how to be a trailblazer in the space that you're in, or I also titled it, Tips That an Old Head Gave Me during a Lyceum event. So you ask, what is a trailblazer? So before I get into all of that, I'm going to give you the definition of a trailblazer. So here's my warning. Remember this definition as I'm going to quiz you at the end. So a trailblazer, it's a noun, just in case you were wondering, and it is defined as a person who makes, does, or discovers something new and makes it acceptable or popular. A trailblazer can also be described as a pioneer or an innovator. Examples of trailblazers are Shonda Rhimes, Stephanie Lampkin, you can throw in Kanye if you want, Ryan Coogler, who's a director, Dr. Ramsey Smith and some of our Falcon family, Coach Pub Williams, and of course, the Delaney sisters. The aforementioned names did not become trailblazers overnight, but in actuality, their greatness evolved over a period of time. How one becomes a trailblazer is not an actual goal. Most of the time, you do not wake up one day and say, you know what, after I finish working to this ratchet mix on my podcast, I'm gonna go ahead and become a trailblazer. No. What may happen is actually you'll see an opportunity to innovate or take something to the next level. When you see an opportunity, I suggest that you take it. Case in point, as stated in my bio, I am actually born in Philadelphia. I'm originally from Philadelphia, but raised in Camden and Glassboro, New Jersey. I was raised in a home of musicians. My mom is a music teacher, and my dad, he's a recreational therapist, but was a DJ in college. Both of my parents graduated from predominantly white institutions, also known as PWIs. And one had never thought about going to school in the South, that was beyond them. And two, did not even think about attending an HBCU at the time. So when it came time for me to attend college, I knew that I wanted to attend a school that would allow me to grow into a sensible human being and be somewhat far from my parents that would require them to call me before they decide to take a drive. I was accepted into two schools, Rutgers University, which all of you know is in New Jersey, and St. Augustine's College, now University. Both tuitions were paid for. The advice my mom gave me at that time was, take the opportunity to leave the state. And if you don't like it, you can always come back. To be completely candid with you, I did not want to move to North Carolina. You know, I was a city girl. I grew up in the city. That's what I was used to. I wanted to go to a school in the city or be in an area that had transportation available to me at the drop of a hat. So think like pre-Uber days. You know, I was thinking about Uber before Uber even existed. So needless to say, God knew it was best, but I also saw an opportunity to be something different, to do something different. Hence, be a trailblazer. That decision led me to attend and eventually graduate from this university. It gave me exactly what I was looking for, to grow into a sensible human being, usually during the day, Monday through Friday, as evenings were reserved for partying and doing what college students do. And at that time, we played spade games every weekend. And to be far from my parents that I knew that they would have to call me first before they made that drive. So it would take me, when I started driving home, it would usually take me 6.5 hours to get to the Philadelphia area. For some strange odd reason, it always took my parents 8 hours. I have no idea to this day why it took them so long to get down there. So little did I know that this decision would be one of the best decisions that I have ever made and laid down the groundwork for me becoming a trailblazer. Now that we have established what a trailblazer is, let's talk about the traits. So 1, don't be an anomaly, be the norm. And also make it hashtag or tweet worthy if you're going to do that. 2, be a doer and not a dreamer. Document your progress. Yes, selfies are allowed, so you're allowed, this is okay to do selfies. 3, build your squad, AKA hashtag squad goals. Make sure you have a great squad. So let's talk about lesson 1. Let's use an example. Take the Delaney sisters, synonymous with our illustrious university. They were doers. They were daughters of a man who had been born a slave and the first colored woman permitted to teach home economics in white New York City schools. In that time period, their parents were pursuing the inconceivable. The Delaney sisters lived in a time where African Americans were not allowed to vote, schools were segregated, and the right to receive an education was an infallible idea. If you put things into perspective, some things have not changed. Despite these obstacles, the Delaney sisters were able to overcome their challenges to become a dentist and educator respectively. The Delaney sisters could have given up, but they executed their dreams. You see, I said they executed their dreams. There's a difference, there's a difference. They could have let all these obstacles define them and not pursue their education. What they did was set a precedent, not for themselves, but for their family members and the people that came after them. For them, setting that precedent became the norm. It wasn't the opposite. Another example, when I first came to St. Aug, I majored in chemistry, as what was mentioned. My goal at the time was to become the next Ben Carson. This is way before all the political stuff he's doing now. But of course, at that time, he was known to be he was a well-known pediatric neurosurgeon. Like most science majors, we all have dreams of going to medical school, AKA the norm. But about 20% of students actually succeed and attend medical school. For me, I realized medical school was not my best option and tried my hand at doing research at North Carolina State University for a summer. While at NC State, I interned at the food science department under the department's first and only black professor, Dr. Leon Boyd. Dr. Boyd was not an anomaly, as he had a degree in biology and chemistry. But he decided to go into food science and became an expert in lipids and muscadine grapes. I learned a lot from him that summer. A few years later, as I went on to attain my master's and my doctoral degree, I knew that I wanted to be like Dr. Boyd, a person in my mind, who in my mind became what I define as the norm. So as you contemplate on what you want to be when you get out of college, and don't worry, I'm still trying to decide what I want to be when I grow up, take the time to soak up as much knowledge as you can to help you identify what it is that you want to become. This is the time where you can set your own rules and define what it is to be the norm. We are living in a time where being popular is defined by how many likes you get on Instagram or how much money you have. Bit of advice, although there's nothing wrong with either of these things. The most successful people are not the ones who flaunt what they got, but they are spending their time perfecting their craft. Now, if you are going to go against the grain, I highly suggest you use social media as a platform, but you please use it wisely. For example, we have Black Lives Matter. It's a powerful group, even more powerful hashtag. Lesson 2, be a doer and not a dreamer. I will say my first year here was a bit of a struggle. When I decided to major in chemistry, and that was all because it was advice given to me by Dr. Jeffries, who is still here. In the beginning of the semester, I had 35 people in my science class. By the end of the semester, I had 15 people. That number dropped to 15, with people either switching majors or transferring to other institutions. During that time, I heard the banter of what I'm sure you guys still hear now. Come to NC State, or come to blah blah school, come to Peace, come to Meredith. It's so much easier here. Or the infamous, I get my refund check before the semester starts. Let me give you a piece of advice. I am a graduate of NC State, and the grass is not always greener on the other side, but that's another story. But a perfect example of that is, while I was attending NC State, the group leader from my lab thought that students who graduated from HBCUs were intellectually inferior to his students that attended PWIs, especially to his white students. His son, who was a technician in our lab with an associate's degree, shared his father's sentiments. Fortunately, all of his HBCU students, including myself, we all published papers, we received grant money from prestigious organizations, and all had job offers from Fortune 500 companies before we all graduated, including myself. The PWI students, they were not as successful as us. And all these awards that we received were documented in newspaper clippings as well as journals. And to spite our group leader, the proud black girls in the lab and myself, we would take a selfie every time one of us received an award, and we would email it to him. You see, although we dreamed of achieving these accomplishments, and yes, we had someone in leadership trying to cause a bump in the road, we overcame. We were doers. No matter what it looks like, dream it, then do it. Lesson 3, building your squad. So, we're going to switch gears just a little bit. And we're going to discuss building your squad. We live in an era where people have squad goals or woes, but do you know that whoever is in your squad can either help or harm you? One should treat building their squad like they should treat dating. Pick people, male or female, that support you, have similar diverse experiences, and most importantly, help each other grow. My squad lives far and wide, most of them live here, and they consist of friends who I've met in college, graduate school, visiting, and are living in various places. And yes, some of my squad does exist in Minnesota. There's not very many of us there, but we have enough. One point to add is that you should not be the most successful person in your squad, as this may cause jealousy and your relationship could grow to become stagnant. You always want to make sure you push each other. So being at St. Aug is the perfect time to build your squad, as you are creating lifelong friendships. I will add that the friends who do not stay in your squad, they also serve a purpose, as they teach you something about yourself at that time. I'll use an example. One of the lunch ladies, I don't know if she's still here, she was a pseudo squad member of mine when I was here, and she taught me to be patient. Why? Because every time I forgot my ID, I had to stand in line. After the 5th time of doing so, we struck up a conversation one day, and before you knew it, she knew me well enough that I could slide through the line and get the special peach cobbler that only faculty could get at the Falcon Crest, and that was amazing. So I knew before everybody else did. So how did I build my squad? My squad consists of various different shades of brown, made up of males and females. Some members of my squad are my line sisters, past roommates, my best friend, married people, and older people. Republicans, liberals, and Democrats. You see there's diversity amongst my squad. All of these members serve a purpose. But I do have a few requirements in order for you to be nominated to be a part of my squad. One, you must try something new, big or small. This can be defined as traveling to a place you've never been to, as I love to travel, or trying a new food. With me being a food scientist, it kind of goes hand in hand. 2, have a sense of humor. It can be sarcastic or dry humor, but you have to like to laugh. Plus, it burns calories. Keep that in mind. 3, be open to grow. However you define the next level in your life, as a squad, we will be there to push you, even when you can't push yourself. This goes both ways. My first official squad member was my best friend, who is here today. She and I met during freshman orientation and realized at first that we actually did not have very much in common at all. Fast forward to first few weeks in school, and we created a bond, which was over me clapping back at someone who made a comment about me being short in stature. I'm only 5'1". After that laugh, we both realized that our class schedules were somewhat similar, and we both had a goal to not gain the freshman 15. At the end of the year, we both accomplished that feat with a few laughs on the way and have been friends ever since. We have been through heartaches, joys and pains, me moving to the Midwest, which I question every day, and she getting married. But nonetheless, she is on my permanent squad and I am on hers. We have been on each other's squads for the past 15 years. As I stated before, your squad members and squad goals, they may change over time, and that's okay. What I learned while attending St. Aug was the biggest lesson of all time, and that was defining who I am. So right now I'm going to ask you guys to take a look to your left. Everybody take a look to your left, and take a look to your right. What do you see? You see your squad, right? So, what you will see is that the one thing that you may not notice is that everyone in here looks just like you, except they may be a different shade of brown. It may not be a big deal to you right now, but trust me, this may be the only time, and I do mean only in all caps, that you will be amongst people who look like you all the time. You may not know everyone in here, but realize that this is your squad. This is your family. Even that roommate that found your secret stash of snacks that you've been hiding, yeah, they're part of your squad too. This family is what helped me strive and be able to overcome several obstacles that were to come soon after I graduated. Those long registration lines that I'm sure still exist will help give you patience like no other, trust me. But what you will also learn is how to set high standards for not only your squad, but also for yourself. And I also wanted to go ahead and throw this in. We're going to talk about when to say no and walk away. But first, we're going to do a quick pulse check. I know I've been talking for a bit. So who's still with me? Raise your hand. Okay, I haven't lost everybody. So we've covered a lot. We've covered the definition of a trailblazer, how to become one, and creating your squad. All these points are great, but I think the most important one is when to say no and walk away. Sometimes it's easy when to say no. Saying no to go somewhere, no to not liking a person, or standing by your no in the heat of an argument. However, most situations are not always black and white. There may be a time in your life where you have to evaluate if the situation is really worth the journey. As a graduate student at North Carolina Central University, I was majoring in organic chemistry and had put in 2 years' worth of research work. One day in the middle of class, my advisor at the time informed me and another student, who's also part of my squad, that our research projects had been cut due to funding. Now mind you, this is in the middle of class. This is not like a sidebar conversation, just literally like in the middle of class. Our choices were, we could either continue to work with him on another project or walk away and work with someone else. At that moment, I was infuriated. I was upset. But it was really a blessing in disguise, as I realized it would take me another year to finish my degree if I stayed on with him. So instead of doing that, I told him no, and it was a hard no, and it was a very, very, very hard no to say, because he was hard to say no to. And I went to finish my work over at NC State. I was actually able to finish the following semester. So mind you, I graduated from North Carolina Central in 2008. If I stayed, it would have been much longer. That other student that I mentioned, the girl who's on my squad, it took her another year and a half. She didn't finish till 2010 for a master's. And she decided to continue to work with him as her advisor. It was a difficult decision to make, but sometimes you have to step out on faith and wait to see what will happen. So, I covered a lot during this keynote. My hope wasn't to scare you, but to encourage you to set the bar high for yourself and find a great support system to get you there. The key takeaway that I want you to understand is to take pride in the education that you are receiving. My days at St. Aug helped to prepare me to overcome the challenges of sexism, racism, and other isms that are upon me every day. Because of St. Aug, I was able to find my identity and unknowingly become the trailblazer that I am slowly becoming. Remember I stated in the beginning that I would ask you what was the definition of a trailblazer? Did everybody remember? Everybody remember the definition? Yes, no, maybe so? So here's my ask of you. What does a trailblazer mean to you? If you have that answer, the next question you need to ask yourself is, how am I becoming one? Thank you.
Let's give Dr. Lewis another round of applause. Not only did she do a great job today, but we applaud her for her accomplishments. Well done. At this time, we will allow you to ask Dr. Lewis questions. If you have questions, do come down front. Don't be shy. Come on down.